Eric Bergstrom here with Jim Neff, who in 1975, as an assistant coach for the high school football team in Cadillac, Michigan, started one of the greatest events in rock and roll history. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So Cadillac just held its 40th anniversary of KISS coming to Cadillac. How did the celebration go, and what kind of things went on?
It went about as well as we could have, probably better than we could have expected. We didn't know what to really plan for, but we shot for the stars and we made it. We had a homecoming parade on Friday at 5 o'clock that the whole town turned out for. I don't think we've ever seen a homecoming parade with that many people in Cadillac. And of course, we had visitors from all over the country and around the world, and it was just an absolute delight. It was KISS from end to end. The elementary students painted up in KISS makeup, all the floats from the various elementary and high school, all KISS themed. It was just an amazing event. And then we had a Friday night homecoming football game that probably had the largest crowd in the history of Cadillac High. And then on Saturday at 11 a.m. we unveiled the world's only KISS monument. It's 8 feet tall, black granite. It's just absolutely amazing, and we had a huge crowd on hand for that. The city officials spoke at the dedication, and I got to pull the tarp off the monument along with the former head coach Dave Bryan. So the two old coaches got together and pulled the tarp. And then at 2 o'clock on Saturday, we had an amazing homecoming concert. It was headlined by Mr. Speed, the world's best KISS tribute band, and they just did a phenomenal job. We had probably 1,800 people in our gym, which is about the same crowd we had in 75 for KISS. So it was just a tremendous success all the way around.
Is there video of all that? I'd like to see you pulling off the tarp off the statue. I'd like to see that statue, actually.
Yeah, video is being put on the web as we speak. It'll be on our website at kisscadillac.com and on our Facebook at facebook.com/KissCadillac.
Great.
And there are TV stations that are putting it up. Also, I noticed on YouTube, several people have already posted some videos. So
that's awesome.
We have a videographer that documented the whole event. So it's going to be up there. And
that's great.
Some of the videos have already been sent to KISS. They're on tour in Australia, and they were sent some this morning.
It must be surreal to think that a decision you made 40 years ago, probably just off the top of your head, you obviously weren't thinking it would be this important, but a decision you made back then changed your life and your city's life as well.
It was really something. When we talked to people at our event this year, I said, 1975 sort of just happened. It wasn't really planned because it happened so quickly, and we just threw things together and created this event. And, it really turned out to be a story that lasted these 40 years. And now in 2015, we actually planned it out, and so every step along the way was scripted to perfection, I thought. And people came from all around the world. I'll give you an example. We had one gentleman who now lives in Michigan but grew up in Scotland, and he followed the story of Cadillac in Scotland as a 14-year-old. He started following
Wow.
it, and all his life he's been waiting to come to Cadillac. Finally moved to Michigan a couple of years ago and drove up for our event, and just shows you the power of this story. It's a story that has not been told before. It can never be duplicated, so it's been really cool.
One question I was really curious about is, how did you even get a hold of the band back then? It seems like that would be a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, it was a hard thing to do. People today don't understand the communication. There was no internet, there was no email, there wasn't any Facebook or anything like that. So what happened was, after we had lost our first 2 ball games and started to play the music and won a few, we were on a winning streak. So I just turned over their first album. And on the backside was the name of their management company, which at the time was Rocksteady Entertainment out of New York. And I sent a regular old snail mail letter. And you know how long it took, probably a few days to get there to New York, and someone read it. And I was sitting at home at my lazy boy and one evening, and Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley called me from backstage at a concert. They were just ready to go on stage, and they said, "We got your letter, and we're just so interested in this story. It's just so cool. And if you would, we'll give you our tour schedule and our manager's phone number, and we would like it every week if you could call us after the game and tell us how you did." And so, again, no cell phone. So I had to if we were away from home, I had to jam my pockets full of quarters and, go to the nearest payphone and feed it quarters until I had enough money in the payphone to make a long-distance call to update him. And so it was, by today's standards, almost rudimentary. It's like Fred Flintstone making the call. It was great.
You must have been the greatest coach in the history of football when the football team found out that you were getting KISS to come to Cadillac. Do you remember how you told them?
Well, we didn't tell really many people except some city officials and school officials until just a couple of days before KISS came, because we knew that if the word got out, we'd have more people than we could handle. We just wanted to focus on our students and our players, and so we didn't really tell them. Again, back then, we had 2 AM radio stations in town, and one of them played rock and roll, I think, for 2 hours a day.
That's it.
And so, there wasn't a lot of that. There was no social media, so it was a little easier to keep a secret back then. You remember the old Film at 11?
Right.
Well, that meant that there wasn't even any video. People have asked me about video from that event. Well, it didn't even exist. So, the kids were kind of excited, and they knew of KISS, but they didn't really know the magnitude.
Right.
Up here in a small town in northern Michigan, very few had been to a gigantic concert, and when 7 semis rolled into our parking lot, they kind of thought maybe something was up,
Yeah. As far as like the kids in Cadillac today, like the youngsters today, what do they know about KISS? Do they even know who they are?
It's kind of interesting because it's an education process. KISS really isn't their music because they play rock and roll in the locker room, but it's not KISS, and the pop radio stations, they don't play KISS very much. You can hear it on our big classic rock stations down here, but it's been really interesting because all of a sudden here we're going to have this celebration, and everyone instantly learns about KISS, and the first things they find out is the face makeup, and then they start talking about the story, and of course a lot of the parents and grandparents that were around back then, now they're telling their little kids. So when the entire town showed up for that homecoming parade and so many kids were painted up, it was kind of cool. And I have a granddaughter that's in junior high, and they were learning about the whole story in their English class this week, and being shown the videos and things like that. And it's so it's kind of, now the story's kind of being passed on to another generation. So that's kind of cool too.
That is really cool. At the time, had KISS Alive come out yet? Were they huge at that time, or was that just at the brink of them becoming one of the biggest bands in the world? Do you remember?
Yeah, I absolutely do. They had put out 4 albums, and KISS Alive came out just about the time they were in Cadillac, within a couple of weeks. And 2 things happened. First of all, as you well know, KISS Alive was the turning point for the band, but it was also a live album that was a turning point for the entire recording industry, because they did things on that album that no one had ever done on a live album before, and it kind of changed the way live albums were produced. At the same time, KISS was a band that had a really nice cult fan base, but they really were not well known to the general public. And the Cadillac event kind of humanized that whole thing and brought a whole new fan base into perspective. Articles written all over the world, millions of dollars of publicity that probably no band in the world could have purchased at that time. And those 2 events together, I think the band will tell you, the release of Alive and the Cadillac event were both real good events for KISS to launch themselves into what they are today.
Was there a lot of opposition from the city officials? Was it hard for you to get them to go along with KISS coming to Cadillac?
There really wasn't, because their frame of reference was so different.
Okay.
When you told them, we're going to bring KISS to Cadillac, they all thought, well, we've had bands play.
Right.
And, we've seen bands at the school dance, and there were bands at our local roller rink. This is no big deal. We've done this before. And it's hard to explain to somebody that thinks of, knee-high Fender amps and a 3-piece drum kit.
Right.
It's hard to explain to them the magnitude of a KISS show.
Yeah.
So they all just said, yeah, that sounds good. We can do that. And of course, when we put every piece of equipment into the gym that was in a Cobo Hall show from Detroit, except for the big KISS sign, because we couldn't fit it in the door, when people came, it was crazy. In fact, one teacher said I felt like it was so loud. I felt like I was swimming against the current. So I really didn't get that much opposition from city officials in that. And then one more aspect. Once the band got here, they were so gracious and so nice and so accommodating and had so much fun with everyone that they kind of just won the affection of everyone they came in contact with.
Did you have to explain the makeup to the city officials and things like that? Because that must have been like alien to them.
That was really crazy, and we charged $3.50 for the concert, and 50 cents of that was to purchase makeup for every kid in the school. And you will look at the old pictures, and you'll notice that some of the makeup is really, really good.
Right.
Like on the city officials and some of the school officials, Gene and Paul and Ace and Peter and their people actually did that makeup, so it looks really nice. And some of us, myself included, had students do the makeup, and it's really, really bad. And so you have this wide variety of good makeup and bad makeup. So that was kind of, when you see the mayor and the superintendent of the schools and the principal all in makeup, that was really very surreal. And as Gene Simmons coined the phrase, he said, when I looked out over the audience and saw everyone in makeup, it was like Planet Kiss.
Do you have a lot of mementos from that, from Kiss coming to Cadillac?
I'm not a real big collector. Oddly enough, I have pictures, and I have a plaque that they gave me that says I'm an honorary member of the band.
Nice.
I have a few, a few things that they've given me, posters and so forth, signed copies of the album and so forth. I don't collect, like the Kiss action figures.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I've got a few years before I need the Kiss coffin.
Let's hope not.
I have some very key things that are very memorable for me, and that's what I've kept. And as I sit here doing this interview with you, I'm looking right now at my plaque, and it says Kiss, signed by all guys. It's a nice brass, very shiny. It says honorary member Jim Neff, and that's about as nice a possession as you can have.
That is awesome. I thought I heard somewhere that when they left in a helicopter that you didn't even know the helicopter was coming. Is that true?
Did not know. It was on the agenda. McGee had figured it out. Rocksteady Entertainment had scheduled this, and later Gene told me, we had to. There's a couple of things we wanted to leave in kind of a spectacular fashion, but I also, we had to get out of town and go to our next gig, and that was the fastest way we could get to where we were going. And a couple of weeks ago, talked to Paul and Gene, and I said, and one of the questions was, what was it like being in the helicopter? Well, you can see the pictures of Gene with his feet hanging out. And Paul said, we were just all hanging out for dear life, trying not to fall out of the helicopter. And Gene was having the time of his life, and they threw those flyers out that said, Cadillac High Kiss loves you, and they all landed all over town. And some people kept them, and some people just thought that they were trash and threw them away.
Not anymore.
But not anymore. But it's very, very different. They're just black on plain white paper, so it's very